I am a executive performance coach. I've also a TEDx speaker. I love speaking. My passion is just purely just about people, elevation, getting the best out of them, making people realize that there's more than just one level. There's more to it, but then also understanding how to actually break those sort of barriers for themselves and get them to those levels. Obviously, there's parts of my book there as well. There's specific words of like burning the rules. I use that quite a lot because I don't believe that people should be following these particular type of social norms and these rules. There is something that you should be able to dictate and take control of. Nothing should be controlling you. That's everything that I'm all about. And it's just having this relentless, obsessed mentality to get the best out of people. Burn the rules, lead from within. Okay, bit of a backtrack on this one. So this is probably my second attempt of writing the book because the first one just did not go well. I was traveling. I was going away in November for a month. So I was on the plane and it felt like the book was already there. But then as I sat there, I was just making annotations, notes on this script, and I just kept crossing things out. And then I just didn't like it. I just didn't feel the energy. I was like, well, if I'm not liking this, then maybe other people won't like this either, but I'm not feeling it. So why should I be sharing something that I'm not feeling? Because the whole book's supposed to be like your own. It's you. And then I messaged Deepika and I basically said to her, I said, look, I don't like this book. And she's like, really? You sure? I was like, absolutely. I go, I just need to do something else. And I closed myself off for the month of January and February, 2 months. And I rewrote this whole book. And I basically named it Burn the Rules, Lead from Within. She was shocked when she saw it. And she was like, wow, you managed to do this in 2 months. I was like, yeah, it's all there. It just needed to be unlocked. Something just needed to come out of me. It's like almost like this lion's roar. I just needed to let out, and it happened. It's very much inspired by my own actions, my life, and how things have sort of progressed. I use a lot of analogies in there, which are related to my mother and father, my wife, all these things that I've learned from them. Especially my mum and dad. My attitude, I always say there's a 50-50 there. I've got so much 50% of my mum and my dad, but then I see like the compassionate side of my dad, which is enough and good enough to share to people about leadership, being empathetic in specific ways. But then the relentless attitude from my mum, it's like, well, she's like, if you don't like it, you just figure it out or take control of things for yourself. Don't allow other people to actually dictate your own life and what you do. Purely because that's how they got together, right? They got together against everyone's wishes, and it's not heard of in Asian cultures in that sense. It's this whole arranged marriage thing, right? But years ago, they managed to do that, and they've got a beautiful love story, which I can probably write a book on that too. Okay, but the thing is, with that is what's just led me to write this book, which then also led me into when I did this bike ride, which I talk about. It was 180 miles over 2 days. And it wasn't just it wasn't a motorbike, because I usually get asked that question. It was a pedal push bike. I love long distance cycling. Even before putting myself into this sort of challenge, I kind of was like, I know how to ride. I know how to ride a bike. Okay, it's easy. I've rode a bike since I've been a kid, kind of thing. But it's only when I was on this ride, I actually realized how to actually ride a bike and what it actually means and how you can actually put all of that mechanisms of this bike is basically exactly how our life works, from changing the gears when you're going uphill, when you're going downhill, when you're slowing down, when you need to speed up. Our life's like that, okay? And we need to sort of switch gears from time to time, which then avoids the whole burnout aspect of things, right? We burn out because we just don't know how to stop, or we don't know which directions we're going in. Many reasons. And that was one of the reasons as well from this book, is that the bike ride taught me so much, because it then helped me develop something which I call the 5 states of optimization. And the 5 states of optimization essentially is all down to our own emotional intelligence, understanding how we need to sort of reprogram ourselves to be aware and take control of what we think we're good at, when in theory we're probably not good at, okay? But asking yourself these questions and sort of taking things back, right? You got to almost take yourself back to like when you're a child, okay? And allow yourself to do that, because everything is so fast paced nowadays, but we can slow things down. We can take things at our own pace. But even by taking things at our own pace, we actually don't realize that we could probably actually be going a lot faster. Yeah. So all of these things, there's in this book, there's very much about, there's a lot of exercises to do. Some of them are typical exercises that you hear, but it's not just following what you hear everywhere else surrounding like textbooks and things like that, right? It's putting yourself in that perspective and doing those exercises. So it's like even asking yourselves questions that nobody has ever asked you or nobody does ask you. Ask yourself the right questions, but then also teaching people to ask other people the right questions, and questions that people don't often ask one another. It's like simple questions of like, how are you? Right? Very, very simple. But the instant reaction on how are you is I'm fine. But then ask the question again, actually, how are you? Okay. And even when you're at work or in the corporate worlds or anything, if you're having from manager levels to sort of senior management, execs to sort of middle management, all that, ask you can ask the same questions. That you don't have to be the CEO of a company and having specific questions. The cleaner or somebody else can ask those same questions to the CEO. That's the mentality that I want people to sort of understand and get to realize that everyone in organizations is one. So make that have that sort of realization too. But then not just in corporate, but also in your personal life. Okay, because a lot of that is all linked with that too. So the 5 states of optimization. So they're planning, productivity, people, prospect, and performance. Okay. So planning, productivity, people, and performance, they're all linked to our own emotional intelligence. Okay. So you've got the self-awareness side of things, the social awareness aspects of things. But then the productivity side is not, it's not just as typical words of planning, productivity, people, prospect. They all link into your personal and professional lives. Okay, so when I'm talking about prospect, for example, it's not about finding prospects in business and generating things. It's about networking. It's about understanding who are these people around you. Are you surrounding yourself with the right people? If not, change it. Because if you're stuck with those people, you're not getting anywhere. You're living a life of regret. Why are you doing these things to yourself? Okay, so it's making you aware of those specific areas. And then the last one, the performance state, essentially is about peak performance, taking things to the level, unlocking your true potential, and allowing yourself to know that there's more I can do. I usually use examples of like athletes. Okay, obviously in the UK we say the word football, over here it's like soccer in America. But athletes, they all have one type. They all have one mindset, and it's a winning mindset. They lose, it hurts. Okay, they win, it feels great. But why can't we do that? Why can't just the average Joe also think about those sort of things too? By waking up and having a winning mindset. What do you want to win? What's one thing that you want to achieve today? And it does not have to be monetary. It could be anything, absolutely anything. You might want to get to work a minute early. You do that, you win. You feel good. Okay, you're going to keep attracting that right sort of energy everywhere. Okay? And that's the message that I want to send out to people. Where the 5 states of optimization essentially is just how to reprogram your brain, how to reprogram your mind, because it's such a magnificent thing of our mind, our body, everything put together. You can turn it into a well-oiled machine. You can do that. It doesn't matter what age you're at either. I always thought at one point, like I've gone through certain things in my life, okay, and the book says book does explain these sort of things in terms of being told I had cancer to not having cancer to having then being told that you've got tuberculosis and then going through breakup in marriage, getting remarried, doing all these sort of things. Lots of things that were happening. Failed businesses, right? But then at that point, I was like, well, my whole world's crumbling down. My issues are like the worst issues on the planet. Nobody seems to understand what I'm going through. But the message there is that everybody's going through issues. Issues are always going to be there. Okay, they're not going to go away. But it's how to sort of who to reach out to, their support, surround yourself with the right people again, doing those sort of things. There is always help. There's always help. It might not be your parents. It might not be your wife. It might not be your husband. It could be somebody who you just don't even know. Okay. But then the other thing I want people to also realize and take note from this book would be also love everything about you. Right. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am great. Okay? Bring that, start feeling that. Because there is a moment where I was not sure exactly what book I was reading. It was multiple books at the same time, in fact. Definitely The Secret was one of them at that point in time, but it's something that hit me. I was walking the dog and something just hit me. I felt this huge rush inside me and I was like, whoa, that felt good. And when I felt that goodness, it's just this is why where I am now, why I am here now. Everything that's been happening to me now is purely based on that rush that I got, and I've not let go, and I still feel that rush. I don't feel it as intense as I did then, but I knew that it was there, so I knew I'm capable of it. I can bring it back whenever I want. When I'm talking about this, I really do feel it, and anybody, absolutely anybody in this world can actually achieve that. Multiple books I was reading, but then everything just came from within. I started understanding more about me. I started understanding about more about my relationship. I realized that the corporate world was not for me. I realized so many things. I realized that risk was the best thing ever. I realized fear is not fear. I turn fear into excitement every time I think about it. There's moments where you do wake up and you think, oh, but what's the next paycheck going to be like when you're running your own business, for example? But why am I focused on that? Why am I not focused on what actually needs to be done to actually get what I actually want? So it was all of that whole rush, that energy inside me was basically helped me unlock all of those sort of things. And this was down to sort of listening to the right people, reading the right books and doing this, a lot of work on for myself. But that work on myself, I did not realize I was actually doing it. Okay. Until I felt this and think, this is what everybody talks about. Okay. So this is the most important thing. So if I can do it, anybody can do it in that respect, you know? The belief that I'm trying to change with the book, it's in the title, Burn the Rules. Yeah. I went into education. Then after education, I really did not want to go into a corporate world. So I did another degree for a whole year. So I just thought, hey, I enjoyed university so much that I'm just going to do another degree. So I did one. And then it was time to go out and look for what I thought was go out and look for a job. Okay. I struggled, found a job within a year after, which was fine, then worked my way up doing those sort of things. Then the next thing, what do I need to do? Oh, I think I might want to buy a house now. Okay, so I've saved up, I'm gonna buy a house. The next thing after that, okay, you gotta get married, then you gotta have kids, you gotta do all of these sort of things. And then it dawned on me thinking, but who's telling me to do all of these sort of things? I'm like, well, nobody's really telling me to this, but this is what I'm hearing, this is what I'm seeing. So why am I not doing something that I want to do? Why can't I not take control of all of those sort of things? Let me be me. Let me do what I want to do. That's the message I want people to. The burn the rules, lead from within is just those words. I feel is enough for people to start thinking. The rules are there to be burnt. Your rules are there to be burnt. You can break them. It's absolutely fine. But then there's a lot of things that do come into that. Okay, there's going to be the comfort. There's going to be the fear. There's going to be the what if moments. All of this is going to start falling into place. But that's what the book explains and helps you get through, that how you can actually burn the rules. Okay, the rules will still be there, but you can start creating your own rules, and you actually don't need to listen to anybody else, really. I know I'm probably going to get people thinking, you should be listening to people, but why? Right, listen to yourself first. Everybody's out there giving you advice, doing things like that, but do listen to yourself, which is the most important thing that I want everyone to sort of take away from this book.